Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius, the official energy drink of pewterreport.com. It is a Tuesday edition of the show. We are mixing things around given the hurricane situation going on in Tampa, so I hope everybody is prepared and staying safe as we get ready to get through that. So we bumped up our schedule. We're doing the Bucs at Saints preview today on Tuesday, as the Bucs have another important NFC South matchup coming up. So we're going to preview it, especially with what went on in Monday night's game with the Saints. So a lot to get to. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is my fellow co-host and the face that runs the place at pewterreport.com. It's SR, Scott Reynolds. Scott, everybody thinks they have a plan. And then as Mike Tyson once famously said, until you get punched in the mouth, because that injury to Derek Carr last night puts a lot in jeopardy and a lot in question to this Bucs Saints game coming up on Sunday.
Yeah, it sure does. I mean, to add insult, or I guess it's injury to insult in this case. The Saints lost their third straight game in a row, third straight game where the offense didn't come close to scoring 40 points, as they had averaging 45.5 points in the two previous wins to start the season against the Carolina Panthers and the Dallas Cowboys. And the wheels have just fallen off the wagon offensively for the Saints. And now possibly Derek Carr not being able to play in that game, that's going to be quite telling, because that was an oblique injury. I watched it happen live. If you were watching the Monday night game, you probably saw it too. Derek Carr facing pressure, took a hit, but it was mostly him as he was falling back, torquing and trying to throw the ball to the end zone. And you could see him immediately grab his lower side, and it is an oblique injury. He didn't sound very optimistic after the game, telling reporters, yeah, it's not good. It's an oblique. We'll get an MRI today and find out more. But Matt, this is a situation where this is a painful injury.
Yeah.
If he does end up playing, it is going to affect his accuracy, his velocity, his effectiveness. And maybe the game plan is to do what Bo Nix did against the Buccaneers. Take those little 5-yard shots and carve up the defense. Hopefully Todd Bowles knows that. But this is a situation where I don't know if Derek Carr is going to play. I think they're going to have to play Jake Haener, especially on a short week.
I think that's the biggest thing right there, that they did play last night. So there's less recovery time for Carr, less time for preparation. So, yeah, I mean, just seeing it happen, I happened to be watching it. There was no volume on when I was watching it. So when I saw him like walking to the back, I'm like, oh, wow, he's got a concussion. Like, that's very serious. And then as it went on in the replays they show, obviously it was an oblique situation. So, and Derek Carr did seem very upset in the press conference after, which kind of leads to believe that he thinks he's going to be out for a little bit, at least on Sunday against the Bucs. But yeah, Scott, you hit the nail on the head, because after my initial oh, that's terrible that he's injured, because we don't want to see any injuries to any players, regardless if they're a rival of the Buccaneers. My next thought was, oh my God, they're going to make Jake Haener a star. They're going to make him an absolute star based on the defense. Because one of my first thoughts, Scott, honestly, was when Devin White injured Jameis Winston a couple of seasons ago, when Jameis was on the Saints, and Trevor Siemian came in and carved up the Bucs defense. I was having a little bit of a haunting flashback to that moment.
For sure.
I seriously hope Todd Bowles learns from those situations what happened on Thursday, because that's what the Saints are going to do, and they cannot allow it. Now, luckily, some of the Saints wide receivers like Rashid Shaheed are more built for the deep ball down the field. But regardless, man, Todd Bowles, do not make Jake Haener a star. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. Listen, the two losses this year, what's the common denominator, right? And we've seen Derek Carr start off hot. He started off hot the last time these two teams played each other in Tampa. The Buccaneers had to win that game, and they win the NFC South, and it didn't happen. They had to wait one more week and win in Week 18 in Carolina to fully clinch the division. They made it very interesting. But Derek Carr is one of those players. If he gets going early, it's hard to kind of get him off track. Didn't have a bad night against Kansas City, threw 2 touchdowns, but at the same time, didn't really find a lot of rhythm in the passing game, miss some deep throws. And again, if he does play, that is going to affect his accuracy for sure. But you mentioned Jake Haener, and I am in total agreement. The common denominator in Tampa Bay's 2 losses this year is whether it's a rookie in Bo Nix or an experienced Pro Bowl veteran in Kirk Cousins, the Buccaneer defense allowed both of those quarterbacks to get hot early. Yeah. And I am all in favor of throwing the kitchen sink at this guy, blitz him early and often, and make him as uncomfortable as possible if he plays. The great news is he's not a pocket passer, but then again, neither is Bo Nix, and Bo Nix hurt the Buccaneers with some of those scrambles. Actually, the first touchdown of the game was on a scramble. And Jake Haener, as we saw last night, he has thrown 8 passes in his career, all coming this year with 3 kind of mop-up duties. Last night, he was 2 of 7 for 17 yards. And he is going to bail out of the pocket and use those legs to pick up first downs. Tampa Bay's got to be aware of that. So they've got to do whatever they can, Matt, to really affect Jake Haener, get him uncomfortable. But more importantly, and they failed to do this with Bo Nix, have some pass rush integrity. Maintain the integrity of those pass rush lanes. Have some discipline, and make sure that he can be bottled in and run into sacks, not just escape for yardage.
Yeah, the Bucs have played a fair amount of mobile quarterbacks this season. I mean, if you go back to week 1, it was Jaden Daniels, and then Jalen Hurts a couple of weeks ago, and Bo Nix. And I think while if I were to give it a grade, I'd say it's inconclusive at this moment. They have had their moments. Like, they did a really good job of containing Jalen Hurts, but you could also argue, well, the Eagles didn't have Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown. Jaden Daniels, while he did run a lot, I think overall the Bucs did a good job of not letting him kill your defense, and especially because the offense jumped out to a big lead. But yeah, Bo Nix, it was an issue, and it wasn't just the edge rushers. The edge rushers were a big part of it, but it was the blitzes not getting home. And when you have 4 or 5 defenders right all up at the front, it just let Bo Nix go right around the corner. So, a lot of times you go back to, I know it was a couple of years ago, but it was the Todd Bowles defense. Remember, Taylor Heineke had his moments against the Bucs defense.
Sure did.
And that was Heineke kind of just, it wasn't like he was throwing 30-yard passes and beautiful balls and, great receptions. It was him running all over the place, scrambling for first downs, throwing on the run. Gritty plays can hurt the Bucs a lot. I think even that Bo Nix, the first touchdown, like you talked about, that was a gritty play. Like, he was supposed to throw the football and then screw it. I'm going to tuck it and run and beat the guy. So grittiness, while the Bucs are a tough team, in my opinion, gritty quarterback play has kind of been one of the recipes to beat the Buccaneers in the history of Todd Bowles running their defense. So we'll see if it's Haener. Carr, I do have to admit, I mean, last year it looked like he wasn't going to play against the Bucs because he was injured around the same time, or around the time that they were playing the Buccaneers. He ended up playing, and I think that was a benefit to the Bucs last season because he was not 100%, could not make the proper throws. So, we'll see. He's a tough guy, even though he gets banged up a lot. He is pretty tough. Can't guarantee that he's going to play because remember last year too, when the Bucs played the Jaguars, we all thought Trevor Lawrence was not playing in that game on Christmas Eve. And then Trevor Lawrence ended up playing. And again, probably to the betterment of the Buccaneers because he was not 100% and they decimated the Jaguars that day. So, it's something we will monitor throughout the whole week because quarterback, most important position in football, and certainly impacts what Tampa Bay wants to do defensively.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I don't think that the Bucs are really afraid of Derek Carr. I remember that game you're talking about, that first one back in week 4. And the Bucs were actually hoping that Derek Carr was going to play injured rather than Jameis Winston. They were actually more afraid of Jameis Winston than Derek Carr. So we'll see. It's going to be one of those 2 quarterbacks. Either Carr is going to try to gut it out and tough it out and see. And if he does, I don't think he's going to be terribly effective. That is, I mean, that's almost like an injury to your throwing shoulder or your throwing elbow. Good luck trying to be accurate and have the velocity and all of that. So it's going to be tough. And for a Saints offense that really is struggling to score points now, they're going to have to rely, whether it's Carr or whether it's Jake Haener, rely an awful lot on Alvin Kamara, who's actually had a little bit of kind of a resurgence this year in terms of what he's been able to do. And he's really been effective in Clint Kubiak's new offense. I think at times Pete Carmichael kind of forgot about him a little bit. and he's had some injuries and has missed some time here and there, but so far so good. 388 yards, a 4.3 yard average, 5 rushing touchdowns. Those are good numbers for Alvin Kamara, especially given the fact that the Saints offensive line has been so banged up, Matt. We talked about the injury report heading into the game, and this was the status for the game prior to the Monday night game. Taysom Hill was out. Cesar Ruiz, the guard, is out. Shane Lemieux, he went on injured reserve, so now the Saints are down to their third string offensive line, or third string center, who actually played pretty well last night in the game. They double teamed Chris Jones almost every play, and it seemed to work. He wasn't the game wrecker he usually is. But Ryan Ramczyk, their right tackle, has been out all year. That they've moved Trevor Penning over from left tackle to right tackle. That looks like it's more home for him than being on the blind side, protecting side. But so give the Saints a little bit of credit. They've been making do with a very injured offensive line, and we'll see if Ruiz ends up playing. If not, it's going to be the same offensive line that protected Derek Carr last night. And they only allowed 1 sack, but they weren't terribly effective in stopping that Steve Spagnuolo blitzing defense.
Yeah, that's true. And Spagnuolo, I'm a big fan of him as a defensive coordinator. I love the way he just attacks. But yeah, that was kind of the Chiefs' recipe last night against the Saints, was get them in that 3rd and long situation and then just send the house. And the Saints knew the Chiefs were sending the house and still really couldn't do too much about it. I do agree with you, though. The Saints did a really good job against Chris Jones, specifically pass blocking wise. Like the run game, the Saints didn't really get much going. Right. Alvin Kamara had 26 rushing yards in the game. Jones did a good job there. He is a great player. He's going to make an impact one way or another. But the fact that he did not kind of take over the game in the pass rush, like Derek Carr, while he did get sacked, I think wasn't overly running for his life. It was more the insane blitzes, the onslaught of blitzes that really took care of it. But to your point, Alvin Kamara really has found something different this season. He's had a nose for the end zone. And while Kansas City did a great job against him, again, 26 rushing yards, all his other games the whole season, his fewest amount up until last night was 77 rushing yards. So he's been effective on the ground. Even yesterday's game, they threw it to him 6 times for 40 yards. So he's going to be involved. And of course, the Bucs have a little bit of an issue at inside linebacker right now besides Levante David. So that is going to be a matchup the Bucs have to be aware of, because the Saints, while struggling, you're going to go to your bread and butter, or you're going to go to your best player. When the Bucs had their issues against the Broncos, what do they all say? We need to get Mike Evans involved. And they got Mike Evans involved. Again, I would imagine the Saints will do something similar with Alvin Kamara. We do have a couple of comments to get to. Thanks to Joel Elregan, who is now a Pewter Report YouTube channel member for 2 months. So awesome. Happy anniversary to that. Thanks for all of your support, Joel, who also says, stay safe, my fellow Floridians. Thanks for the distraction from all the news, SR and Matt. Well, thank you for joining us. We know it's tough times for everybody right now, and people are busy. Everyone's got to be prepared. So we thank you guys for taking time out of your day to spend it with us. Yeah, for sure. And we're going to have an hour free of Doppler radar. So we're not going to have any radar on this show. Right. So if you want a distraction from the weather and Hurricane Milton, you've come to the right place. We'll see what happens. Fingers crossed. If you're hunkering down, hunker down. If you're fleeing the Tampa Bay area or where you are along the coastal cities of Florida, please safe travels, and we'll hope for the best for everybody. No question about it. Let's get to the super chat as well. Thank you to Joey Letts for this $4.99 super chat. Thank you, Joey. As Joey says, thank you so much. Says, love the show. Been a Bucs fan my whole life and grew up watching Josh Freeman. Boy, am I glad we got Baker. I myself have watched Josh Freeman probably more than any of you, because he was my quarterback at Kansas State, my alma mater, for 3 years. And I'll never forget, Mark Dominic was the general manager at the time, and he was a Kansas Jayhawk. And, of course, he knew me as a Kansas State Wildcat. So we had a little rivalry during the times that we were together, he working for the Buccaneers, me covering the team. And I always kid him to this day. I said, man, your first ever draft pick as a general manager was a Kansas State Wildcat. Granted, Freeman didn't turn out to be that great,
by any means. It's not like I'm bragging, but I like to stick it to Mark Dominic in that regards. And yeah, it's a shame because Josh Freeman had the tools and the talent. Just something was just kind of off and missing. Didn't take the game as seriously as he needed to. Wasn't the student of the game. Waffled, I think, between it being a player and a playa, and just wasn't really all in. And I don't think that the coaching approach of Greg Schiano with the laid back style of Josh Freeman was a great marriage. Certainly Raheem Morris, who was the Kansas State defensive coordinator for 1 year under Ron Prince. Matter of fact, I went out there and saw Raheem during that year at Kansas State, watched them beat number 4 Texas. Colt McCoy and the Longhorns knocked them out of the national championship picture, and met Josh Freeman, who was a 6'6", 250-pound freshman, true freshman, 18-year-old at the time. Little did I know I'd be covering him professionally a couple years later in Tampa Bay. But Baker Mayfield, certainly a better quarterback. And again, to this point, Matt, it's so puzzling. And I've had this conversation with Jason Long, and I said, just stop drafting quarterbacks. There's something in the water here that doesn't compute. Josh Freeman, it just is one of the latest of including Jameis Winston and Vinny Testaverde and Trent Dilfer.
Yeah.
Draft picks that outside of, Doug Williams, if you're a Doug Williams fan, a Doug Williams believer back in the day, they just can't draft quarterbacks to save their lives. But the guys that have been the best quarterbacks in franchise history, Brad Johnson winning a Super Bowl in 2002, Tom Brady winning a Super Bowl in 2020, sprinkle in Brian Griese in 2005 winning a division championship, Jeff Garcia winning a division championship in 2007. And now Baker Mayfield. They're all free agents, Matt. So I don't know. Just keep riding this free agency train because it seems to work here in Tampa.
Something's not meant to be for quarterbacks drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But what I respect about your comment, Joey Lutz, is, there's that old saying, like, if you can't love me at my worst, like, you don't deserve to love me at my best. Well, if you loved the Bucs during Josh Freeman and Jameis Winston, well, you deserve to have all the love and praise.
You deserve Baker Mayfield.
Came through and Baker Mayfield.
That's right. Good stuff.
Absolutely. Another thing that we love so much, and we will get to Baker Mayfield in a second. Another thing we love is Celsius energy drinks, of course, the official energy drink of pewterreport.com. Make sure you take a look at some of their newest flavors, like the sparkling watermelon and lemonade and the sparkling kiwi strawberry. Tons of great flavors of Celsius. They're delicious as well. So if you need to know where to find a Celsius energy drink, maybe you're in a different spot, head on over to the Celsius store locator, punch in your address, and I'll tell you the closest place where you could pick one up. Could be a Walmart, a health and fitness store, a Piggly Wiggly, a Publix, a King Cullen, a Wallbounds, or your bodega.
Bodega.
And if you go to your bodega, you try Celsius and you love it and you want more and you want to get it in bulk, you can buy it in bulk over on Amazon with the subscribe and save. I'd recommend getting the variety pack because there's so many great flavors of Celsius, and variety is the spice of life. You can have it sent to your place of residence whenever you want. You're in charge. You're the captain. Just make sure you keep drinking Celsius energy drinks, the official energy drink of pewterreport.com.
That's right. I'm actually at Amazon right now, Amazon Prime, and they've got some good deals on Arctic Vibe, Matt, your favorite flavor.
Yes,
right?
My personal favorite.
Along with some other select flavors. So I'm scanning right now. They also have some of the powdered versions too. So if you want to put it in a water bottle, shake it up, and take Celsius on the go, you can do that without the sparkling element of it. Some people don't like the sparkling, but they want the energy and all of that. So check out Amazon right now. Amazon Prime Days going on today and tomorrow. They've got some select flavors on sale. Maybe it's your favorite flavor. They can ship it right to your door. So make sure you check out Amazon today and tomorrow for some of those Celsius deals on Amazon Prime Days.
I haven't asked Todd Bowles this, but I'm pretty confident that he's got to be a big fan of Celsius because Celsius has versatility, and Todd Bowles loves versatility.
That's true.
So I would imagine he's a big fan.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. So there's no injury report to get to today. Typically our Wednesday show, we have an injury report. We can tell you a little bit more. The team, like many of you, evacuating today. They're heading to New Orleans where they're going to be training and preparing for the game. I kind of like this approach, Matt. I mean, not that they can't win by flying up the day before the game. That's the typical practice for NFL teams. But at least in this situation, with the hurricane, being a distraction, obviously. They're going to be in New Orleans, kind of just doing their routine, getting the practices down. They're already there. They're out of harm's way. And so the fact that the storm is happening, sooner rather than later in the week, I think it's a good thing for the Buccaneers. Helps them kind of get into that game mode up there all week long. And then as the team continues to become more well rested, refreshed, recovered, rehabbed, and I'm hoping that we see on the injury report tomorrow some familiar faces, maybe like an Antoine Winfield Jr., maybe like a Kalijah Kancey, maybe like a Luke Gedeke, maybe Trey Palmer shakes off the concussion and plays. So we'll see. I've kind of been told that there is some encouraging news, but I'm not giving any details because they don't want to alert the Saints to that.
Sure.
They don't want to give them any prep time on a Tuesday, which I understand. We're not going to sit there and do it to hurt the team or harm the team. But so there might be one of those players or maybe more that come back for this game. And gosh, even the players that played on Thursday, I think they're going to be better off with this little bit of a mini bye week that they had.
Yeah, like even someone like Jordan Whitehead that left the game for a little bit with the groin injury, or Levante just being older and having more time to rest. There's no doubt the Bucs need all the help that they can get, especially on that defensive side, whether it's Antoine Winfield Jr. or Kalijah Kancey, something to give a little extra juice to a unit that that struggled on Thursday. There's no other way to say it. And on the one hand, first of all, I agree. It's a great idea to go now and ASAP to be proactive than reactive in the situation with the storm. And I do think there can be something about kind of like everyone banding together, and they're going to be all around each other for the next couple of days just based on like in a new location, everything like that. I do wonder how much of a distraction it can be going back to the last time there was like a major cause with a hurricane coming to Tampa. It was when the Bucs played the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football in 2022, and the Bucs went to Miami during that week. And, it's a lot of moving parts. Families, Kate Odd posted a video of like his dogs on the plane. Like they're moving everyone and everything. And if you remember from that game against the Chiefs, the Bucs lost 41-31.
Yeah.
Rashad White fumbled the opening kickoff. The defense did not come to play. The offense also put the Bucs defense in some tough spots. So hopefully, kind of like being in such a unique situation doesn't affect them in a negative way. But I do think kind of having everybody together to recalibrate, refocus, especially with how they lost on Thursday, kind of could be a positive in that aspect. Obviously not a positive in the situation that they're in, but making the most of it.
Yeah, totally agree. Well said. We have another super chat to get to.
Yes, we do. Thank you to KGH for Life for this $10 super chat, who says, it's time to stop calling Todd Bowles a defensive guru. Under his tutelage, the Bucs defense have been inconsistent, and that was the third or fourth time they have allowed 500 yards passing.
I think this is a little bit different than what we saw against, say, C.J. Stroud last year with the Texans. And I'll say this, and I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm actually looking for reasons. But this was a short week. The team had just lost SirVocea Dennis. And as I wrote about in my 2-point conversion column after the game, boy, I mean, they missed this guy, and they missed him bad. They missed SirVocea Dennis, his ability to cover in the worst way, and they were stuck playing KJ Britt. Because here's the thing with Todd Bowles, and you know this, Matt, being at it every practice. He's not going to play somebody in a particular scheme or make some type of a personnel move until he sees you do it in practice, right? And I think that's part of the reason why guys like Antoine Winfield Jr. didn't play in the game, Kalijah Kancey, because he has to see you do it in practice. And they only had 2 walkthroughs. They had walkthroughs on Tuesday and Wednesday. They got in the play and they played Thursday night. Okay. So that's not enough time to have Todd Bowles get the data that he needs to say, yes, I feel comfortable doing this with this guy, whatever. They weren't able to play dime because they didn't have Antoine Winfield Jr. And they were kind of down a body at safety because Winfield's on the roster. So they really couldn't play dime. They were forced to play this coverage. They didn't play it well. We talked about Levante yesterday. I'm not trying to beat him up. I love Levante David. He's 34 years old. He didn't recover as quickly as some of the younger guys did from that scorching game on Sunday. And he gave up over 100 yards himself in zone coverage. So I'm not going to give Todd Bowles a complete pass on that, but I think that Texans game was worse than the Falcons game because that was on a full week to prepare. And he did have veterans in Carlton Davis and Jamel Dean available in that game, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know. It's a little alarming that happened, that type of performance happened. The Bo Nix Broncos game still disturbs me more than what happened in Atlanta. To me, I think that's the more of the indictment on Todd Bowles.
Yeah.
Is, man, you let this rookie quarterback who hadn't shown jack squat the first 2 weeks come out and put touchdowns on the board and beat you. That to me was more damning than what we saw with the Falcons game. I know recency bias is in play here, but yeah, I mean, Todd Bowles, just when you think and I even wrote about this in a Fab 5 that was ill-timed. Just when you think, okay, this guy's got it, figured out the lines, beat Jared Goff, right? Took care of a rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels. And boy, that week 1 win looks a hell of a lot better now that Washington has ripped off 4 straight wins, right? As good as Jaden Daniels is playing, they played him at the right time. But as good as Todd Bowles has been, when it's good, it's great, Matt. But when it's bad, it's awful.
Right, that's the big thing. And sorry, there's a little bit of breaking news. The Eagles released Devin White. So I'm sure the Devin White rumors will ramp up a little bit more, but we could talk about that maybe later or on another episode. I think the problem with Todd, and you kind of said it, like when it's bad, it is ugly and it's awful. And the problem is that it happens like once or twice a season, like the Texans game, like you mentioned last year. But for every abysmal performance like Denver and on Thursday against Atlanta, you also get them kind of shutting down the Lions offense and only allowing 1 touchdown in the game. That game, you get the Eagles playoff game where Jalen Hurts didn't do anything. You get a lot of bounce backs. You get a lot of masterful performances too. You wish you could just bottle those up, and it happens week in and week out. I think part of the issue is it's not the easiest to earn the trust of Todd Bowles, but once you have it, he is as loyal as ever. To bring it back to Devin White, like it took Devin. You had to pry Todd Bowles away from Devin White to take him out of the lineup.
That's right.
But Todd isn't always open to changes or kind of trusting a player that hasn't earned his trust just yet. And sometimes, for better or for worse, you just kind of have to do that with either a young player or a backup because every team gets injured in the NFL. And I think getting injured with a Thursday game is very, very different. There's less time to prepare and a lot of different things are going on. But yeah, I don't think, like the Lions game, they didn't have Antoine Winfield Jr. Right. They didn't have Elijah Cansey, and they still got it done. And Servante Dennis is a very nice player, but we can't just sit here and be like, well, there's no way the Bucs can overcome the loss of Servante Dennis, and therefore the Bucs season is done. Like, no, they got to find answers,
right? And
hopefully on Sunday they do, because there are a lot of things that need to be cleaned up, and they can be great. They have all the talent there to be great. It's just some schemes and some different calls need to be cleaned up.
Yeah, and so this does beg the question, and I wrote about it in my PR Bucs mailbag on Monday about Devin White. I was asked, well, with Servante Dennis being out probably for the year with that shoulder injury on IR, and Todd Bowles is a big Devin White fan. Devin White knows this defense. He's good in coverage. Could he come back? I'll tell you what, this would be one hell of a game of tug of war between Jason Light and Devin White. Devin White. I think Jason
Light versus White.
Yeah, exactly. I think Jason and the front office are done with Devin White. Todd Bowles, I think, probably wouldn't mind having him back. I think Devin White would love to come back. Are you kidding? I'm sure he hasn't. We're blocked. I mean, I can't see his tweets because he blocked Pewter Report years ago.
He did.
But I just, I don't see this happening. The one thing, too, you have to remember is the Buccaneers let him go for a reason. They didn't think Devin White was good, and he's not. He's not a good player. Then he goes to the Eagles, his preferred destination of choice, and he can't even be active right? He's that bad. He didn't win the starting job. He had a bad preseason, didn't win the starting job, then was a backup, and then I guess was a bit of a malcontent because he was on the inactive list for personal reasons, and maybe he's not being a malcontent, but it was interesting how that was timed with the Tampa Bay game of all things.
Yeah.
Then he tweets out during the game about Lavonte David making a play against his current team, which I know there are some people in the Bucs organization that laughed at that. So I just don't see any way. I know in Madden it makes sense, right? In Madden, which is 2D, you sign him, he's a free agent, and he knows the defense and all that stuff. This is 3D real life. I would be very surprised. I don't think the Bucs are that desperate, Matt. I think that J.J. Russell is an option. And when Winfield comes back, Todd Bowles has already said we have dime in our playbook. It's a scheme that we can run, but I just don't think Devin White is in the cards for a return to Tampa.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the depth for other teams around the league, like who else has suffered a lot of linebacker injuries. Because on the surface, it's like, all right, the Bucs lost Travassier Dennis. That's their only injury to, inside linebacker. It's not like they've lost 4 or 5 different guys. So It almost leads me to believe, like, and I hope this doesn't happen, but if something were to happen to KJ Britt or I don't even want to say it out loud, but the other starting inside linebacker for the Buccaneers, or even if something happened to JJ Russell, like, wouldn't they just kind of go back to their practice squad with Vi Jones or someone else like that before they kind of went outside and went to Devin White? And the other part of me also thinks 2 things. Like, one, well, what if Devin came in being like, all right, like, I learned from my mistakes. I'm going to come in. I'm going to do whatever the team asks for me, and I'll fall in line and do my job. But the other part of me thinks that's what Devin's attitude should have been going to Philadelphia in the first place. And, he didn't live up to it. So who's to say that now all of a sudden he's going to figure it out? Maybe this release of him is kind of the last straw, the straw that broke the camel's back. And he's finally got to understand that, you're not the real deal. You maybe one day you can play back into that. I wouldn't rule that out, but he's going to be probably on his 3rd team in 2 seasons based on, poor play and a poor attitude.
Scott Jackson says Devin White is better than J.J. Russell. Are you kidding me? The front office doesn't care about winning. Cares more about their pride. If they won't bring back White, we need him. Todd Bowles has said it. His words, not mine. And I agree wholeheartedly with the sentiment. It's not about the best 53 players. It's about the right 53 players. Okay. And Devin White, I mean, listen, when you loaf on the field, and he's loafed, it's obvious. It's been Warren Sapp pointed it out. Josh Capos pointed it out. Matt and I pointed it out. He loafs. The effort isn't there. Okay. He makes boneheaded mistakes. And I just think this team is done with that. They gave him 5 years to earn that second contract. And he didn't. And you look at the way he performed and the antics and the level of play, right down the tubes in his contract year. Matt, I don't know. What did Antoine Winfield Jr. do in his contract year? What did Mike Evans do in his contract year?
They balled out.
They balled out. What's Chris Godwin doing in his contract year?
He's only top 10 in receiving right now. I believe
Baker
he's
Mayfield?
7th last
How
time I
about in his 1 year, like, here's $5 and 1 year prove it deal? What did he do? That's what professionals do. Professional football players ball out in their contract year. Okay, they don't go on social media and play little manipulative games, and they don't sulk and hold out of camp and stuff. Did Tristan Wirfs hold out of training camp? No,
he was forced to sit out of minicamp. That's what happened.
Which one of these doesn't belong, right? Winfield, Evans, Godwin, Mayfield,
even Lavonte.
Lavonte, yes, exactly, Lavonte. Devin White, which one of those don't belong in the equation with all the others? It's that simple,
and it goes back to something we talked about a couple of weeks ago on a show, and they're in the same situation with Mike Evans going into a contract year and Devin White as well. If Mike Evans, a future Bucs Ring of Honor member, a future Hall of Famer, the greatest offensive player in Bucs history, if Mike Evans has to play on a contract year and earn his next contract, everybody else in that room has to as well.
Yep. And Mike showed up, didn't pout, and went out and balled out. And that's what you do. That if you're a professional, that's how you handle the situation, right? And again, like look at what happened when he goes to the Eagles, right? He was inactive. It wasn't even like he was playing special teams. They didn't dress him. Okay, he's not
never
good.
Recorded a tackle. He never recorded a tackle for the Eagles in a regular season game.
No, he never suited up.
He had as much stats. What's up?
He didn't suit up for a regular season game.
Devin White has as many stats on the Philadelphia Eagles as Antonio Brown had for the Las Vegas Oakland Raiders, whatever they were at the time.
Right.
They have the same amount of stats.
Yeah.
Antonio Brown on the Raiders, Devin White in the Eagles.
Yep.
Both the same amount of stats. We got a super chat to get to, though. Actually, two more.
Yep.
Thank you to Architect79 for this $4.99 super chat, who says, is it fair to say the defense under Bowles has a mid-tier ceiling based on inconsistencies for 3 seasons?
Yeah, it's inconsistent. Yes, it's inconsistent. When, like we said, when Todd Bowles and his defense are good, they're great. And when they're bad, they're awful. He needs to have more consistent play. And I think sometimes he's the defensive coordinator. He's the play caller. And it's his baby. And the buck stops with him. And the blame starts with him. I'm happy to give Todd Bowles the credit when he deserves it. I think I've been absolutely fair in that regards. And, the lack of adjustments that we saw in Atlanta, because guess what? Like, it wasn't working, right? What he was doing was not working, and they really didn't try to do much else against the Falcons. They tried to play keep away. They had the lead, right? And they played not to lose instead of trying to win. And when you do that, you end up scoring 6 points on offense in the second half. And the outcome was what it was. So I don't know. I want to give Todd Bowles more credit, but he has to earn it. He's got to deserve it. And the Lions game was spectacular because the defense was humming on all cylinders. The pass rush outside of the sacks, and we talked about this yesterday's show, the hits were there, the pressures were there. Goff threw 2 interceptions because of some of the pressure, but the coverage was there. And I thought the pressure was there. They had 4 sacks. They had 10 or 11 hits. They had about 25, 26 pressures against Kirk Cousins. But the coverage wasn't there. It was just too soft. And it's this soft zone coverage that's maddening. It makes Matt and I mad.
I hate it.
Makes you mad.
I think it makes me more frustrated more than anything else on this Bucs team. Not like poor quarterback play, even though Baker's been great. Not the lack of a run game. It's the soft tissue paper soft zone, which annoys me more than anything else. And I know Todd Bowles has been here for a while. And to answer this question from Architect79, I think this can be a top 5 defense when everything is working and everyone's gelling the right way, but we just haven't seen that.
Yeah.
I know Todd Bowles has been here for a while, but we're going to find out over this next month if he can make those adjustments, because I know the Saints offense hasn't looked good, but you're talking about a Bucs defense that just came off of allowing over 500 yards and 36 points in the game.
Yeah.
Then you have the Saints. We'll see what happens there. You have the Ravens, so you're playing against Lamar Jackson and a tough Ravens team that has turned the corner. You get the Falcons again, who obviously just carved them up. I know the 49ers are 2-3 right now and a little banged up, but Todd Bowles has had fits trying to go up against that offense and that offensive system.
Yeah.
And you have the Kansas City Chiefs. So you're going to learn a lot about what Todd Bowles can do, who he trusts, who he doesn't trust, and what he can run, because these teams are going to pick him apart. If Bo Nix can pick them apart, if Kirk Cousins, who I've called a statue, can throw for over 500 yards, Lamar Jackson's going to be quite all right. Patrick Mahomes is going to be quite all right, regardless of who's playing receiver for him. And, Brock Purdy has carved up the Bucs before. He could probably do it again.
Yeah, you're talking about some really good quarterbacks there, Matt. And one of the best quarterbacks that we've seen up close and personally is Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. Now, I guess supposedly he also played for the Patriots, but that was way earlier in his career. But he won a Super Bowl with the Buccaneers and actually was the Super Bowl MVP. How cool is that? Set a bunch of records in Tampa Bay as well. So, former Bucs quarterback co-founded a company called Autograph, Fandom Rewarded, and it's an app that you can download for free. And here's the best part. You can also use it for free. There's no charge. So what is Autograph Phantom Rewarded? Well, you can download it and find out on the App Store for Apple, and for Google Play, you can download it for your Android phones. And you can read all of Pewter Report's content. It's like the app that we don't have. So you can check out Pewter Report news as well as news about your favorite team from other websites as well. And let's say you're a college football fan like I am with Kansas State. I have all my Kansas State news, boom, in one page on the Autograph app. And it gets even better. When you read Pewter Report stories, you get points. And when you watch our Pewter Report podcast videos that are on there, you get even more points for watching video. Turn those points into merch and tickets. That's the great thing about it. You get to consume our content and you get rewarded for it. That's the genius behind Autograph Phantom Rewarded. Use promo code Pewter to sign up. That's all we ask. It just allows them to know that we sent you their way. So make sure you use the promo code Pewter, P-E-W-T-E-R, when you sign up for Autograph Phantom Rewarded. And check out all the Pewter Report news. Again, it's the app that we just don't have. So
that's right. We got to talk about the offense a little bit, but we have one more super chat to get to. And of course, if you super chat us, we're happy to talk about whatever, especially when it's a positive like this. So thank you to Easy the Great for this $2 super chat, who says, Logan Hall is finally starting to make an impact. Yes, he has 3 sacks in his last 2 games. He's found something with the pass rush and specifically some pass rushing moves. And man, if he can keep it going, Scott, this is a huge boost for a pass rush that I think certainly needs it with not having Kalijah Kancey.
Yeah, Logan Hall has his confidence back, and we're seeing that. And not only did he get 2 sacks in that Falcons game, he got a sack on that final drive that created the 4th and 15 to allow Levante David to pick off that pass, because that was a backed up passing situation there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest thing is Logan Hall has kind of relied too much on that swim move. And boy, I'm telling you right now, that has driven some folks at One Buccaneer Place crazy. Okay, swim moves don't really work in the NFL. They work in college at places like Houston. But a lot of times when you do this and you try to get that arm up over, if you show an interior offensive lineman your side, they're going to elbow you in the ribs. They're going to take a rib shot.
Yeah.
And it's just not that effective. Logan Hall, to his credit, and Will Golston has been his biggest influence, biggest proponent, biggest cheerleader. And both those guys are 6'6". They have the same body type. And now with Logan working with Will Golston during the offseason, he's up to 300 pounds now. He got here at 265. He's had to put on 35 pounds of muscle and size and mass. And he's finally being a bully. I think that's the big thing, is he finally has enough confidence in his body and his strength that we're seeing him use more speed to power, because he is a good athlete. I mean, he's not the ultra quick twitch guy that Kalijah Kancey is, but go back and look at that RAS score. He's one hell of an athlete. And I think that's what the Bucs thinking was, man, we got old man Will Golston that we eventually need to replace. He does the dirty work, plays a lot of that 4-eye technique and Todd Bowles' defensive scheme. And man, we could get another Will Golston type that's even more athletic and quicker than Will. And it's just been a slow train. And we'll see if Logan Hall, if this is a flash in the pan, if this is a tease, or if he's really turned a corner. Because I tell you, if he gets a sack this week and continues to hit the quarterback, he had 5 quarterback hits and 2 sacks in that game against the Falcons on Thursday night. Matt, if he does that 3 games in a row now, I'm starting to become a believer in Logan Hall.
This is what we've wanted to see for Logan Hall for several years now. I think last year was kind of the big season where we wanted him to take that next step, and it just didn't happen. And maybe, having Kalijah Kancey in there and the Bucs going with him maybe did something from a confidence standpoint or just, a usage standpoint. But man, I mean, everyone's got to tip their cap to him for what he's done, over the past 2 games. Yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the head. He's doing it in big moments, like the 4th and 15. I think his other sack was a 3rd down play, or it set up a 3rd and long type of situation. Not all sacks are the same. They're all great. Don't get me wrong. They're all important. But when you get that 3rd down stop, or you get that situation where the team is so backed up that it's almost impossible to get a 1st down, those just they hit harder. There's
They
like
do.
an extra little oomph and an impact to them. So yeah, huge credit to Logan Hall. Hopefully he
Yeah.
can keep it going, and hopefully he can continue it when Kalijah Cansey
Yeah.
is there as well.
Yeah, listen, King Cook, if y'all think Logan Hall's that guy, then you're delusional. I just want to see more. That's all, right? I mean, I'd rather see 3 sacks than no sacks, right? I'd rather see him trending in this direction. And again, we'll see. Is he a tease or is he turn the corner? We're going to find out.
Right.
But I like what I've seen these last 2 games. And 2 games does not make a season, nor does it make a career. But we'll find out. There's still a lot of pages left in this season for Logan Hall to write. And if he keeps scribbling in sacks, then it's going to be an interesting read.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Scott. But I think we got to talk about the offense a little bit. We haven't mentioned Baker too much. We haven't mentioned the O-line too much. So let me ask you, like, if the Bucs are going to be successful against the Saints, how do they necessarily get it done? Because the Saints have kind of been an issue for the Bucs, and
really
even
have.
last night, even though it didn't go their way, the Saints in the red zone are something.
Patrick Mahomes, no touchdowns last night.
Yeah, no touchdowns. Colin Saunders had an interception. That was actually kind of fun seeing big man run down the field. But yeah, I mean, red zone efficiency is going to be big in this game because they are one of the best in the league when it comes to preventing touchdowns in that area.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Dennis Allen is the play caller. He's done a very good job against the Buccaneers in the past. So, okay, Tampa Bay's got a new offensive coordinator, Liam Cohen, and he's kind of from that McVay Shanahan type of system. Well, guess what? Clint Kubiak is from that system too. So just like we saw last week with Todd Bowles having, some insight into Zach Robinson, the offensive coordinator with the Rams, who certainly dialed up plenty of good pass plays coming over from the Rams and taking over for the Falcons. This is a little bit of Clint Kubiak in training camp versus Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen's seen this, and he knows kind of what is, what's coming. This is going to be kind of the marquee matchup, I believe. This is Alontae Taylor, the nickel corner, versus Chris Godwin, the slot receiver. Alontae Taylor is, as Josh Capo said, a dude, and he is a dude. He is physical.
I like him.
Man, didn't he just pop off the screen last night?
Yeah, something about him.
Yes.
Like, something about him is just, wow, he's got it. And I don't know what it is, but he has it.
Well, he had an interception on Baker Mayfield last year in that game against Tampa Bay when the Saints won in Week 17. And he's going to be charged with guarding Chris Godwin, the straw that stirs the drink offensively for Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
2 forced fumbles, including one last night. He has 3.5 sacks. He had 3 sacks in the season opener against Dave Canales' Carolina Panthers. He's a deadly blitzer from the slot. This guy is legit. So I think this matchup is going to be just as intriguing and maybe even more to the outcome of the game, even more than what used to be the marquee matchup, Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore, mostly because of the fights, right? We always see these guys get into it. And you know that this is coming. It happens in New Orleans. It doesn't happen in Tampa. Mike keeps his cool at home, but not so much on the road. So we'll see if cooler heads prevail on that matchup. But then you have Paulson Adebo on the outside versus either Sterling Shepard or Trey Palmer if he comes back. This is going to be kind of, I think, a tougher, low-scoring game for the Buccaneers offense. They're going to have to run the ball and get the running game going. Carl Granderson, who I love coming out of Wyoming, he's a phenomenal player, has 3 sacks this year, which is more than old man Cam Jordan, as well as more than Chase Young, who has 1.5 sacks. He got his first full sack last night against Patrick Mahomes. Brian Breesy inside defensive tackle. They lost Marcus Davenport. I don't think it's a big loss. Patrick Turner is kind of a bust as a first-round pick. He's hurt. I don't know. Their defensive line is a little hit and miss. They have some pieces. Do all the pieces fit together in every play? I think they're a little disjointed there. The injury bug, too, is worth keeping an eye on because Pete Werner, who's a very good coverage linebacker, he missed last night's game. Willie Gay was also out. And so they had old man Demario Davis, who has given the Buccaneers problems as a blitzer and in coverage before. So this is going to be a very good matchup. And I think Tampa Bay's defense is going to have to rise to the occasion and really, limit the Saints scoring, because I think Tampa Bay might be hard-pressed to score, say, more than 23 points in this game, unless they get short fields due to takeaways.
Which they did in that game in New Orleans last
year.
Sure did. When they were able to score. But it was also Antoine Winfield Jr. that was the main cause for getting that great field position. Yeah, Taylor's a dude, as we kind of just mentioned. He's an absolute dog playing back there. But I actually do think there is a possibility for the Bucs receivers to create some plays down the field, maybe not even necessarily catching the ball, but drawing pass interference penalties.
Yeah.
The Saints are a little susceptible to doing that. And they played more zone last night, but even Troy Aikman was saying, like, they are a big man-to-man team. And while man-to-man, yes, Baker Mayfield has to hold on to the ball a little bit more, I do kind of think if you stop Granderson, unless there's like a blitz and stuff like that, but if it's just a straight pass rush, if you stop Granderson, I think the Bucs will be fine with the rest of the Saints pass rush in this game. So if Mike can get some one-on-one opportunities, I know on Friday we're going to be talking about which wide receiver we'd have as wide receiver 3, but if you get one of those speedier wide receivers to make some plays down the field, you might be able to draw some pass interference penalties. And I'm not saying Liam Cohen should go in and be like, guys, forget everything you know about catching. We're going to try acting and drawing penalties. I'm not saying he should do that, but I'm just saying with the ability to draw certain things up. And I know we harp on the run game every single week. The Falcons are a team that's a little more susceptible to allowing the run. So I want to see how they respond against a team like the Saints that are pretty hard-nosed, that can limit you to what you can do. Now, the Chiefs did rush for over 100 yards. Kareem Hunt had 102 on his own, but he also ran it 27 times. So his average came out to, I think, 3 point. What was it?
It was a volume
3.8 yards
for him, right?
Right. It was volume more than just overall efficiency. Now, the Chiefs had a lead for a lot of the game, so they could afford to continue running it and running it and running it. And you also have Patrick Mahomes. So if the Bucs can find something that'll work in the run game, and you know what? Maybe it's just a pissed off Bucky Irving because he's still angry at the way that he fumbled the football. If they can find any little crease of running the football, I think it could really, really make a big difference in this game against New Orleans, where here's where one thing that'll help the Bucs specifically is they've been great starting out, scoring touchdowns on their last 2 drives. I think one of the most important things, it really doesn't matter what the sport is. There's playoff baseball going on right now and all the other sports are coming out. When you're the road team and you can take the crowd out of it early in the game, that makes such a huge difference. So I don't think there's any better way than jumping out to a lead, which we want the Bucs to do every single time. But then just finding something in the run game where the Saints just can't stop it and the Bucs can run whatever they want to do. Man, that changes all the dynamics of the game.
No, you're right. We get some game changers too, Matt. We call them our Pewter Platinum members. Dave Anderson, Scotty J, Noah Parr, Rathel Gordon, and Scott Federico. Thank you so much for your continued support as our Pewter Platinum members. They get shout outs every show. That just comes with the territory. If you want to become a Pewter Platinum member, maybe a Pewter Premier, Pewter Pro, or a Pewter People member, you can do so by heading over to Pewter Report TV, our YouTube channel, if you're watching on X or Facebook, and showing your support for Pewter Report. We greatly appreciate it. We're about 100 members now, which is awesome. We greatly appreciate all the support from everybody. Here's the quick rundown. Everybody gets loyalty badges and custom emojis starting at $3.99. The early access to videos come when you're a Pewter Pro member. You get the exclusive Q&A videos, those Pewter Insider videos that Matt and I do on Fridays at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And they're also archived, so if you miss the live show, you can submit your questions too if you can't make it. And then the Pewter Platinum members get all that good stuff, plus some free PR merch after a couple months, and twice annual Platinum member meetups in Tampa with Buccaneer personnel as well as the Pewter Report staff. We'll have our first one after the season and then one right around the start of training camp. So if you want to help Pewter Report, we greatly appreciate it. This is also your chance to, if you have a business, advertise with us. Help your business score new customers on the Pewter Report podcast on our website. We have millions of unique visitors each year. Our podcasts get about 150 to 200,000 listens, watches, and downloads a month. So if you want to help energize your business with some new customers, you're going to want to do it with us. And you can email me for opportunities to sponsor your business by emailing me at sr@pewterreport.com. And we're happy to welcome you aboard all of our great businesses, including the folks over at Walk-Ons, which is a great place to go and watch football and have some amazing food as well.
Game day at Walk-Ons is just different, and it starts with the way our teammates prep each dish from our scratch menu. No shortcuts. We are hand-cutting every single mozzarella log straight from the block, hand-peeling, stuffing, and bacon wrapping each voodoo shrimp, hand-carving ribeyes for our steaks and po' boys, and hand-slicing, then tossing our boneless wings and our house-made sauces. With wall-to-wall TVs and food like this, why would you want to watch anywhere else? That's game day, the Walk-Ons way.
I love knowing that the Bucs are going to the place where they ended Drew Brees' career, the Superdome. Back in 2020, his last pass was picked off by Mike Edwards, and of course that loss helped propel the Bucs to Super Bowl 55. But the fun just doesn't start reminiscing about Drew Brees. It also starts with the food at Walk-Ons. You can do happy hour all day on Tuesday. That means today, with happy hour drink and food specials. And they have they're going to be closed obviously tomorrow with the weather. But make Walk-Ons your place to go for football this weekend, starting on hopefully Thursday night. If the Tampa Bay area is spared a little bit here. They've got 3 locations to enjoy the food and football. And that is in the Wesley Chapel Lutz area up here, across from the Outlet Mall by me, down there by Matt, and the stadium at Midtown Tampa, and also over in Lakeland. Walk-Ons is a fantastic place for game day specials, too. So Saturdays and Sundays, you can enjoy $4.49 pints, 22-ounce pours for $5.99. Michelob Ultra, Bud Light, and Budweiser, $5 Heineken Silver, 12-ounce cans, and $5 neutral assorted flavors. You know the place to go. It's Walk-Ons.
That is right. And by the way, with the game coming up on Sunday, we will have the Pewter pregame show coming up on Sunday, October 13th at 9 a.m. It'll be myself and Scott. We'll look at the biggest matchups for the game and give a little bit of a further preview for Bucs Saints. And, you know, with it being a 1 o'clock game, we'd love for you to join us live at 9 a.m. But if you can, it'll still be on our YouTube channel, so you can watch it all the way up to kickoff. And then, of course, when it does kick off, myself and Josh Capo will be on for Pewter Game Day, which starts at 1 o'clock. We give our live analysis, our reactions to everything. Josh is great with the breakdowns of different formations and concepts, and of course, we get to several comments and of course super chats, and we have guests on the show too, like T. Kraz and other guests from WDAE. So it's a great time and be a fun way for all of us to watch the Bucs hopefully come up with a win.
Yep. One more promo, if you'll indulge us, because we're kind of short a show this week with the hurricane, but we would love for you to do your gaming over at BetUS, and you get 125% bonus in your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. A lot of places do it just for your first-time deposit. This is the first 3 deposits. You get that 125% bonus using the promo code Pewter. Go to betus.com for more. Again, use promo code Pewter. Sorry we had to cram a bunch of ads in at the end there, but you know what? We get this hurricane bearing down on the state here. There's not going to be a podcast tomorrow. We want everybody focused on staying safe, making those final preparations. And if you want your football fix, you can certainly get it at pewterreport.com. Paul, A.K. Florida Dreamhouse, you're amazing with your gifts. Another gifted Pewter Report membership. We greatly appreciate it. Number 1 Bucs fan just became a YouTube member, so that's awesome. Thank you so much for the support. You. So we will have content. We'll also have some of the press conference watched and reported on as the Bucs are in New Orleans. So make sure you stay tuned to our X channel, Pewter Reports, for that information, Matt.
Yeah, please follow us on all of our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram at Pewter Report. And our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. Please like and subscribe, leave a comment, all of that good stuff. And yes, as Shaggy says, hit that like button. And of course, please, everybody, stay safe as this serious hurricane is coming through. So definitely thinking about everyone. And, we all hope everyone gets through okay. And that's going to do it for us on today's show. So for Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks, everybody, for watching. And we'll see you soon for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.
Stay safe.
Stay safe.